Hello, everybody. Welcome to Marine Mammal Monday. Thank you all so much for joining us here today. I hope you all had a lovely first Monday of the month off with Labor Day so that we could join you here now on the 12th for our regular Marine Mammal Monday that is scheduled. And we are here today to celebrate coastal cleanups together. So I'm very excited to get to dive into this content together with you. So welcome. If you're here for Marine Mammal Monday, you are in the right spot. So we'll give it just another couple of minutes as we wait for folks to come and join us here. But as you're waiting, please feel free to put in the comments who you are, where you're tuning in from, and maybe what the weather is like, because that one has been really fun recently. The weather here in Sausalito has actually just sort of gone through a heat wave. So it is nice and still sunny out, but a little bit less hot, which has been very nice. So again, feel free to put in the comments who you are, where you're tuning in from, and maybe what the weather is like if you feel like sharing there too. Excellent. I'm starting to see some comments already. So, welcome, Petra from Monterey Bay. Oh my goodness, is it lovely there? I can only imagine. I've been thinking a lot recently about Monterey Bay and over by Elkhorn Slough and just sort of that whole area, specifically about sea otters. They've been on my brain recently. So, I hope that you get to see some lovely wildlife out there. There is so much goodness in the Monterey Bay area. Excellent. Welcome, folks. Hi, folks. You are in the right place for Marine Mammal Monday. So, welcome. You are in the right place if that's what you're looking for. And together, we are going to be celebrating coastal cleanups together. We're getting a little bit of a head start, thinking about International Coastal Cleanup Day coming up shortly. And I want to say welcome to some of the folks that I see commenting where they are and what the weather is like as well. I was just sharing that here in Sausalito, we've just gone through a heat wave, so it's been a nice reprieve to not be so sweaty anymore. Excellent. Welcome, John. In Fairbanks, Alaska. That's amazing. Thank you so much for tuning in all the way from Alaska. Hi, Carolyn from San Jose. That's exciting. Hello again, Carrie. It's wonderful to see you again. Tuning in from Concord. Excellent. So I'm glad that you've made it through that heat wave as well and enjoying the 84-degree weather instead. Welcome to Moko from San Mateo. Welcome. Welcome, Kylie from Sydney, Australia. Ooh, that's very exciting. Thank you so much for tuning in all the way from Australia. Hello, welcome Koji Cat from Santa Cruz. Partially cloudy and warm sounds ideal. That sounds pretty spectacular. Welcome Vicky from Chicago. Excellent. Rain most of the day. Welcome Francis from Miami, Florida. I have some friends in Florida and they've been sending me a lot of really beautiful pictures lately. And I saw also happy birthday to Petra. I have a very short birthday song. This is your birthday song. It isn't very long. Woo. Welcome. And if anybody else's birthday, consider that also your birthday song. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. This has been so exciting to see you all. We'll go ahead and get started here. So, if you were looking for Marine Mammal Monday, you are in the right place. Now, together today, we are going to be celebrating coastal cleanup. We're getting a little bit of a head start today because International Coastal Cleanup Day does happen this month, which is really exciting on the 17th. So, we're giving a little bit of extra boost today and some extra celebrations. Now, if this is your first Marine Mammal Monday, or if you're curious a little bit about where I'm tuning in from here at the Marine Mammal Center, I'd like to give you just a little bit of context. Now, today you have myself, Crystal, joining as a presenter, and a little later on, Holly will be joining us as well. And of course, managing the comment box is Katie. You might notice a title change, who just got a recent promotion. So, definitely celebrating Katie as well. Now, here at the Marine Mammal Center, we are a global leader in marine mammal health, science, and conservation. We're also the largest marine mammal hospital in the entire world, which is really, really exciting. Now, our range is fairly large. We actually go over 600 miles of California coast and out in Hawaii as well. So, with all of this range, we really, really are relying on our incredibly dedicated amount of volunteers that help us as a nonprofit to function throughout this range. So, we have a small but mighty staff, but are really driven by our 1,300 volunteers that donate their time, energy, and love to our center. Now, we are all sort of also driven through a shared mission and vision for a healthier ocean for marine mammals and humans alike. Now, here at the center, to accomplish this mission, we are doing this through our 4 R's: our rescue, our rehabilitation, the research of these animals and the problems that they may be facing, and then eventually the release of them back out into their ocean home. Now, with 600 miles of California coast, even with over 1,000 volunteers, we could not manage it on our own. So, we really do rely on folks just like you from the public to let us know whenever you see there's a marine mammal in need or something that might be even giving you pause so that we can go and send out those trained volunteers to assess that situation. We have a 24-hour hotline that you can call anywhere along that 600-mile range. That's from San Luis Obispo down in the south, all the way up to Mendocino County up in the north. And that number is here on the screen for you. It's going to be 415-289 SEAL. Tried to make that last bit a little bit extra easy to remember. But once you make that phone call, this is kind of what starts our rescue process. So I wanted to walk you through what we do here. Now, up on the top left hand side, you can see a picture there of what it might be like if we decide we do need to rescue. So, we have those really well trained volunteers out there using tools like those rescue shields or maybe even a net in order to safely transport that injured or ailing marine mammal up to our hospital here in Sausalito. Now, once on site here, you can do anything that you might be able to do at a human hospital. So, in the top right hand corner, you can see that's actually a picture of a sea otter getting an ultrasound. And not only can we do things like ultrasound, but we can do things like EKGs, EEGs, we can do CT scans, x rays, basically anything you can do at that human hospital to best care for each and every one of the marine mammals that might need help. Now, we're also during this time doing the research along the way, and that's what you see sort of pictured in that lower left hand corner there, is some of the research that we're doing. So, this is really the crux of how we are getting into that global ocean conservation. We really want to innovate different solutions to the problems that might be bringing these animals on site. So, this research is really allowing us to discover what's going on not only with the individual marine mammal but what trends are like or what we might notice out in the environment that could be contributing to this that we can innovate problems or solutions, excuse me, to solve those problems. And then our ultimate goal in that lower right hand corner is release. You can see some of those chubby little harbor seals galumping their way back out into the ocean for their second chance at life. And then there's what I get to do and what Holly gets to do as well is that education component, which I love so very much. It's really a great way that we can get folks in joining our team. So thank you so, so much for being here and feel free to join the education team and share a little bit more about what you're learning while you're here as well. Now, if you really want to get more of this information, but you need a good place to start, definitely check out our website, marinemammalcenter.org. There's that education tab, and there are all sorts of different activities, curriculum, all sorts of different things that you can find there as well. Now, today on site and in our care, we have about 57 patients. Now, we are getting pretty heavy into our California sea lions. You can see we have about 47 of those on site. We're really ending our elephant seal and harbor seal time. So we've only got one elephant seal still in our care and one harbor seal still in our care. And we're just starting to see the beginnings of pups for some northern fur seals as well. And right now in Keikaiola, our hospital on Hawaii, we actually have 6 Hawaiian monk seals in our care as well. So if you are interested in coming to see some of them, they are mostly here on site in Sausalito, with the exception of obviously our Hawaiian monk seals down in Keikaiola. Excellent. Now that we've gone through a little bit of the center, we are here, of course, to celebrate coastal cleanup. So I'm going to introduce and have Holly come on. Welcome, welcome, Holly. Would you like to say hello and give us a little bit of who you are as we jump into our broadcast for today?
Happily. My name is Holly. I am the Conservation Education and Retail Associate here at the center. So I work a lot with our open public facilities, and I get to interact with visitors like some of you guys I noticed in the comment who may have visited previously. I get to interact with you guys every day. So I am here to also chat about our coastal cleanup celebration coming up right around the corner in September.
Thank you so much for that introduction, Holly. And I'm actually going to hand it right over to you as you tell us all about coastal cleanup.
Okay, so this is definitely something that we are very passionate about here at the center, but why should anybody else be interested in coastal cleanups, right? So let's start with the basics and what is a coast. So most people associate coasts with a boundary between land and sea, and I know growing up here along the ocean in California, I used to joke that I lived on a coast and not at a beach. But a coast, in the broadest sense, can probably be considered the boundary between land and water. And if we want to think broadly enough, we can consider any space where land meets water a coast. So, from beaches to lakes, ponds, creeks, we can get really creative and we can even consider a puddle a possible coastline at a very micro scale. And so, moving on to why we should participate in caring for these coasts that we see all over the country. First and foremost, safety, right? We really, really love to visit coastlines. So, to clean up these spaces for recreation and visitation is super important. Getting outside and meeting new people is a great second reason. Collecting data is a very interesting one that Crystal will touch on a little bit later. And then preserving the natural environment is always a really great reason to get out and clean up our local coastlines. But here at the Marine Mammal Center, we do have a very specific focus, and that is to help the marine animals that live there. Thousands of marine animals worldwide have been affected by ocean trash, including sea turtles, seabirds, and of course, marine mammals. So, coastal cleanups are super vital to reducing the danger that plastic pollution poses to marine life. And of course, we want to help marine wildlife, and that's what we focus on here at the center. But what impact can we have on land for these ocean based problems? With that in mind, we are all connected through watersheds. And if you've never heard of a watershed before, no fear, here comes the definition. A watershed is a land area that channels things like snow melts, and rainfall down into broader channels, creeks, streams, and rivers into outflow points such as reservoirs, bays, and the ocean. So let's get out our watershed, especially for our folks who might be a little landlocked. I noticed Chicago, someone from Chicago in the chat. Our watershed can be really easily visualized with our hand technique. So if we put our two palms up at the very tip top of our fingers, that's all of our mountaintops right there. As water and rain, precipitation in the form of snow melt lands on the tops of the mountains, it will go down these channels, the lines between our fingers. Those are going to be our creeks, our rivers, our streams, which then empty out into this broader space that might be our reservoirs or our bays, and then out into the open ocean. That's the space between our arms down here. So, if you ever need help visualizing what a watershed is, I love to use that hand trick. And then, as far as what moves through watersheds to the ocean, water, of course, but sediments, pollutants. We can also argue animals like salmon might move from freshwater areas to saltwater areas. And then, of course, plastic, things like trash and debris. So when we're thinking about how ocean trash moves from the ocean, from these land-based sources, we should think about the types of trash that we see, right? So from you guys, our chatters, our folks that are visiting us live, what percent of ocean trash do you think comes from land-based sources? And we do have a couple options to choose from here. A is only 20% of all ocean trash comes from land based sources. 60% of ocean trash is from land based sources. 80% and 87%. I see some folks coming in with D. Oh, we have someone who chose C. 80%. I see a lot of folks guessing some higher numbers so far. Is anyone going to see maybe 20%, maybe 60%? Okay. Some really good guesses coming in so far. Another D, another C. All of you guys have some ideas about just how much trash is just coming from land, from landlocked areas traveling through watersheds to the ocean. And I would agree that most of you guys are correct in guessing that 80% sounds about correct. And that is because that is the correct answer. So, plastic is a very common trash type that is light and highly used, and it moves and floats through water well. So, when we think about specific types of ocean trash that we see coming and washing up on our coastlines, let's move on to what percent you guys think is made up of ocean plastic. So again, we've got a lot of debris coming from these land-based sources. And so what percent of that do we think is based out of plastic alone? What percentage? We've got 20% of all of this trash in the ocean consisting of plastic. We have 60%, 80%, and 87%. The the options for this question are very similar to the options for the last question, so we'll see how your guys' answers differ. I see a couple of C's, a couple of D's. We're all thinking very high still. We're all thinking most of the ocean trash that we see is plastic. I see a lot of people thinking that. Oh, we got one B who thinks 60%. Excellent guesses all around, folks. And so we'll just get right into the answer and confirm that yes, a lot of you guys are correct in thinking that 80% of all of the ocean trash that we see consists of plastic. And about half of all of that plastic is usually single use plastics like plastic bags, bottles, food containers, cutlery, and wrappers. And this is a lot of plastic. We see this impacting our patients here at the center a lot, unfortunately. So, Crystal pulled up some excellent examples of past patients that we have rehabilitated here. And unfortunately, these patients have had really potentially deadly interactions with plastic. So, take it away, Crystal.
Thanks so much, Holly. I'd love to introduce everybody to, again, just like Holly was saying, a couple of patients that we've had here on site, just a few of them. The first one here is Cinta. Now, she came to us as just a pup, a little Guadalupe fur seal, was rescued in San Mateo County at Sharp Park Beach, and was about 8 months old. Now, Cinta here was treated, and you might be able to see it if you squint a little bit there, right on the shoulder that she's kind of leaning against. She had wrapped around there some balloon strings right around her shoulder. Now, unfortunately, when it comes to some of our festivities that we think of, balloons seem like an obvious choice. But I'm going to challenge you all now to think of some alternatives of what you might be able to use instead of things like balloons at your next party or festival or different thing that you're celebrating. One thing that I know I like turning to, especially in these moments, are things like bubbles that now even can be colorful as well, as a great kind of option to use instead of balloons, because oftentimes we don't think about how things like these balloon strings can end up in our waterways connected through those watersheds and back out into our oceans. So, unfortunately for Cinta, she did come into contact with some of these strings from balloons that ended up wrapped around her shoulder. Now, she was actually in our care for less than a month, which was excellent. Our veterinarians were able to cut her free from those strings wrapped around her shoulder and give her lots and lots of nutrients and nice food so that she was able to bulk up and be ready to go back out for her second chance at life. So here is a picture of Cinta going back out to her ocean home. This is at Drake's Beach over in Point Reyes. You can see her sort of looking out into the open ocean, getting ready to dive back in. Now, the next one I want to tell you about is Blonde Bomber, who was a California sea lion, a juvenile male that we had in our care. Now, you might have heard of Blonde Bomber. Well, it's been a little while since he's been in our care. He was a pretty famous one because he was rescued right from Pier 39. So, if you've ever been to Pier 39, you might be familiar with the fact that it is often sort of got so many California sea lions there that are in safe viewing distance of the public. So, it's a great place if you want to go see some of these animals out in the wild to see them while you're visiting San Francisco. Now, unfortunately for Blonde Bomber, you can kind of see right around his neck there. He came in for some treatment because he ended up being entangled in a plastic packing strap just around his neck and came in mildly underweight. So we think probably due to the fact that that plastic packing strap was around his neck, making it harder for him to grow around that. So you can see there that was the packing strap that they removed from around Blonde Bomber as a great reminder to make sure that we are always going to cut the strap whenever we have packages and things like that, and encourage you to do the same so that it doesn't become an entanglement issue for these animals, and making sure that we're disposing of these properly so that they don't accidentally fly out into our waterways. Now, due to the scarring around his neck, we think that he might have actually had this packing strap on him for about 4 months to a year. But I do have a little video to show us all about Blonde Bomber that gets into a little bit of better detail than I can here.
He said thank you.
So you can see from that video, even everyone was excited when he was able to go back out into his ocean home here, actually at Rodeo Beach, which is just down the street from our facility here, which was extra special for much of our community to get to see him go. He did have that little turn back there where you might have heard somebody say that he said thank you. While we don't know what he actually said, I definitely got that sentiment as well. Now, while oftentimes when it comes to the idea of all of this plastic trash and other ocean trash, it can be really tricky to think that we can have an impact because it feels like the problem is so large. And I empathize with that, but I also know that we can see the change. Every bottle, every straw, every piece of trash that you clean up can lead to a cleaner, healthier ocean, which is why we are here to celebrate International Coastal Cleanup Day together. Now, This day is historically the day where the largest groups of people go out onto the various coastlines to get cleaning. Now, this has been going on for over 35 years. About 17 million volunteers have collected about 350 million pounds of trash and mostly plastic. Now, with this, they're also documenting exactly what they're picking up so that different organizations that are putting this together, like the Ocean Conservancy, can use this data to inform research and legislation across the world. So join us on September 17th and beyond to clean up your local beach, stream, park, or neighborhood. Because no matter where you are, you can help ocean creatures enjoy a trash free home. Now, I'm going to pass it back over to Holly so that she can tell you a little bit about the ways that we think about plastic and plastic use here at the center.
Yes, we have so many actions here at the center that we take to reduce our own personal plastic footprint. And some of the reasons listed here, we'll just go through water bottle refill station. It's so simple but so effective in reducing our use of single use water bottles. So, visitors coming to the center can utilize those as well as staff and volunteers. We have shipping and packaging. We try to reduce this as much as possible while we are also operating as an active hospital. Single use gloves, so vitally important for effective, clean care. And we actually participate in a recycling program so that these gloves don't just have one use, they can be reused in a different capacity. Recycling and composting occurs throughout the center as well. And this is especially important with all of the fish that we go through to feed our many patients. And then, of course, as a conservation education and retail associate, I have to talk about our gift store. So, we have a very plastic conscious gift store. And so, we're going to dive just a little bit deeper into what we do at the gift store to try to reduce our personal waste. And before reusable items even make it into our store selection, we take a holistic view at plastic use across the product's entire life cycle. So, from raw materials all the way to disposal. We like to prioritize materials that are easily compostable or recyclable. We buy from manufacturers that minimize their waste as much as possible. We try to request non plastic packaging and we reuse it in our own shipping if we do receive some. And last but not least, we do prioritize products that are meaningful, useful, and super high quality. We want these to go home with you as a memory of the Marine Mammal Center that will last a lifetime. And these are things that you can consider with your everyday purchasing as well. And in addition to everything that you can do in terms of considering your daily habits and looking at what you're purchasing, there's some other really great ways that you can be an ocean hero, starting with joining a cleanup. That's what our whole talk and presentation of is about today, is joining a coastal cleanup near you. So we so encourage you to be an ocean hero by organizing a cleanup or joining, finding a cleanup, creating your own team, whatever works for you, and finding a coast that is really close to your heart to dedicate some time on September 17th or even in the future to spend some time and clean up some of that area.
Now, you can do that just by Googling coastal cleanup, and something will pop up near you as well. But another great thing to do while you're out there cleaning up our coasts is to use the Clean Swell app. Now, this is the app that the Ocean Conservancy, who organizes the International Coastal Cleanup Day, has provided for folks that are going out onto the beaches and collecting trash. Now, through this, they ask everyone to record what they're picking up, how many of each item they're picking up. And again, this is some community science that's happening that we can work together to actually inform legislation so that we can fix this problem and use real data to back up our sources. We can also
We can also consider our many R's. If you might have heard of the three R's, the four R's, the five R's, refuse, reduce, reuse, recycle. We can consider all of that, but really, really, really put emphasis on the first two. First and foremost, we want to refuse plastic in the first place. So, some great movements that I personally like, ban the bag, really great way for us to reduce our single use plastics when at the grocery store. Skipping the straw. If you can, I always like to carry a reusable straw with me, or I just try to forego straws altogether if I don't need them. And then my personal favorite is a really fun month-long challenge called Choose to Refuse. It's Plastic Free July. You spend the entire month challenging yourself to change your single-use plastic habits. I know I definitely really started at a very different place at the beginning of the month than how I ended at the very end of the month. And I was so proud of exactly how much waste I was able to mitigate from entering landfills or other locations. Hopefully, not the ocean at the end of the day is our whole purpose. So,
We can also reduce the plastic in our life through a variety of ways. I know pictured on there, we actually have the same reusable water bottle that I'm using right now. But things, nice one, Holly. But things like finding alternatives to what might be a single use plastic item in our regular everyday life, those water bottles. If you like to have sandwiches or wrap up any of your food, there are beeswax based cloth solutions for this as well as reusing some of those containers that you might already have that are plastic, but really finding those ways to reduce. And through this and those choices that we're able to make, it really sends a big message that this isn't actually about denying people the different things that we want to have in our lives, like water bottles, but that we're working to create a new normal where maybe single use plastic isn't the first thing that's offered, but maybe a water bottle refill station and things like that that are just going to help us to, again, create that new normal. So, with that, we hope to see you there at the International Coastal Cleanup, where you can hashtag see the change in our ocean. So you can go to cleanup.org. You can Google International Coastal Cleanup Day to find a cleanup near you. So we hope that you're feeling inspired to get out there and have that huge, huge impact that we can have when we work together as a team to solve these solutions to clean up our coasts. So, thank you all so, so much for listening today as we celebrate coastal cleanup. If you love Marine Mammal Mondays and you can't wait for more, good news is there's one actually next week, same time, same place, but on the 19th to celebrate another big event happening in September, which is Sea Otter Awareness Week. So, we've teamed up with Sea Otter Savvy and their We Were Here programming to celebrate all things sea otter. And during this, we will also be inviting some of our partners from Monterey Bay Aquarium to talk about their sea otter rehab, in addition to our own sea otter rehab as well. So, thank you all again so, so much for joining us today. We hope you had an excellent time. We hope to see you at the next Marine Mammal Monday. If you have any last questions, feel free to get those in the chat, and hopefully, we will get back to you soon. Thank you all so, so much. Hope to see you next time.